Alex had never been so scared in his life. The silence of space, the endless stars stretching out like diamonds, was broken suddenly by a violent shaking. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and the metal of the ship groaned as though it were alive and in pain. He could feel his heart hammering against his chest as he struggled to keep control of the failing vessel. "Come on, come on," he muttered to himself, fingers clenching the control panel. Sparks flew across the dashboard and a sharp jolt threw him against the seat. The ship lurched violently, sliding across the barren surface of an unknown planet. When it finally stopped, silence returned, but it was not peace. Smoke filled the cabin and the metallic taste of fear clung to his mouth. Alex unbuckled his harness and crawled through the wreckage, every step cautious. Outside, the planet was strange and eerie. Its sky was a deep violet, lit by a pale sun that did not feel warm. Winds howled across the rocky plains, carrying fine dust that stung his skin. And then he saw her. She was standing a few meters away, staring at him. Alex froze. She was not human. Her fur shimmered like silver in the alien light, soft and sleek. Long, pointed ears twitched as they picked up the sounds of the wreck. Her eyes, a deep amber, were intelligent, watching him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Most striking of all was her tail. It was long, expressive, and moved in gentle, deliberate arcs, almost like it had a mind of its own. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Alex felt fear, yes, but also something else. A strange pull, a quiet reassurance in her gaze. He slowly raised his hands, trying to show that he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you," he said softly, almost whispering. She cocked her head, sniffing the air around him, her tail flicking once, twice, but she did not run. Days passed, and Alex worked tirelessly to salvage what he could from the ship. The alien, he still did not know her name, watched him from a distance, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, never leaving entirely. At night he could hear soft sounds like hums or whispers, and sometimes he swore she was trying to communicate. He named her Lyra, after the constellation he had loved as a boy. It seemed to suit her. The way she moved gracefully, the way her eyes glimmered like stars, and the gentle, mysterious way she watched him. Slowly, carefully, Alex learned to approach her, moving with soft steps, speaking in quiet tones. Lyra allowed him to touch her once or twice, just a brush of his hand against her fur. Each time her tail twitched, wrapping loosely around his arm for a heartbeat before pulling back. The feeling was electric, unspoken, a connection he could not explain. At night he would lie near the wreckage, staring at the alien sky, wondering about her. Was she alone here? Had she survived previous travelers, or was the planet her home by birth? He could sense her eyes on him, and sometimes he felt her tail brush against his shoulder in the darkness. It was a small gesture, but it filled him with warmth and a strange hope. Alex knew he was not just a visitor here. Something had shifted, something invisible yet undeniable. Lyra was cautious, yes, but she trusted him enough to remain near, to allow his presence. And every time her tail curled around him, even briefly, Alex felt a bond forming, a bond he could feel in his chest, stronger than fear, stronger than loneliness. He did not know what the future held. The ship was broken, the planet harsh, and danger lurked in every shadow. But for the first time in a long while, Alex felt a spark of hope. He was not alone, not entirely, and somehow in the vast, lonely expanse of space, he had found something extraordinary, something that might change everything. And when Lyra's tail brushed his hand one quiet evening, a gentle, deliberate gesture, Alex realized the truth in a way he had never known before. He was not just another traveler on this planet. He was part of her world now. And in that moment, he felt it deep in his soul. This connection, fragile yet powerful, was only the beginning. The days on the alien planet were long and uncertain. Alex had managed to salvage some tools and parts from the wrecked ship, enough to make small repairs, but it was slow work. The heat of the twin suns during the day and the cold nights made survival difficult. Yet through it all, Lyra stayed nearby, always watching, always alert. At first, she kept her distance, slipping silently through the rocks and dust, tail swishing in quiet suspicion. Alex would call out gently, "It's okay, I won't hurt you." But she only paused, cocked her head, then melted back into the shadows. Still, every evening as the sun set and the sky turned shades of violet and blue, she came a little closer. One evening, exhausted from repairing the ship's engine, Alex sat on a flat rock rubbing his hands. Lyra appeared silently behind him. He froze, not wanting to scare her. She stepped closer, tilting her head, her amber eyes reflecting the fading light. And then something remarkable happened. Her tail brushed against his hand, light and careful as if testing. Alex's heart skipped. The touch was simple, but it carried weight. Trust, curiosity, a quiet bond. He held still, letting her explore. Slowly, the tail coiled gently around his wrist, then lingered. It was not just a touch. It was a statement. She was allowing him into her world, and in return, he felt a connection he could not explain. Over the next days, Alex learned to communicate in small ways. He drew pictures in the dust, gestured toward tools, and mimed actions. Lyra watched, sometimes mimicking his movements, her tail flicking with emotion. Though he could not understand her sounds, he began to recognize patterns. Soft purrs when she was calm, low growls when she was upset or alarmed. One afternoon, while he scavenged for metal scraps near the cliff's edge, a sudden screech pierced the air. Shadows moved quickly, darker than the fading sunlight circling him. Alex froze. Before he could react, Lyra was there. She leapt with impossible speed, her claws flashing, eyes glowing with ferocity, her tail lashed, striking with precision, and the shadowy creatures that had cornered him scattered into the dust. Alex's breath caught. He had witnessed strength before, but this was something beyond human. Lyra's body moved like a blur of silver and amber, every muscle tuned to protect him. When the last creature ran, she landed softly beside him, chest heaving, tail wrapping protectively around him. I don't know how to thank you, Alex whispered, voice trembling, though she could not understand the words. She leaned into him, tail tightening, a gesture that said more than words ever could. For the first time, Alex realized this bond was mutual. She did not see him as prey or stranger or intruder. He mattered to her, and he would have given anything to protect her in return. Night after night, their connection deepened. Alex would talk softly as he worked, Lyra listening, occasionally brushing her tail against his arm, nudging him with her head. The bond grew in ways neither could speak. Every gentle touch, every shared silence, every instinctive protection created a thread that tied them together. Yet, Alex knew the world outside their fragile connection was dangerous. The planet was unpredictable. Storms, predators, and the unknown waited for any mistake. Every day was a test, every moment a choice. But for the first time since the crash, Alex felt something stronger than fear. Hope. Hope that together he and Lyra could survive. Hope that this strange, extraordinary bond could withstand whatever came next. And when she finally allowed her tail to curl fully around his wrist, holding him as if claiming him, Alex felt a warmth he had never known. Not warmth of the sun, not comfort of a blanket, but the quiet, fierce assurance of belonging. He was no longer just a survivor. He was part of her world, and somehow, instinctively, he knew that this bond, fragile yet unbreakable, was the beginning of something far greater than either of them could imagine. The planet was beautiful, but it was dangerous in ways Alex could never have imagined. The air shimmered with heat during the day, and the nights were cold enough to bite through the thickest layers of clothing. Strange creatures roamed the rocky valleys, some silent, some screaming warnings in alien languages that set Alex's nerves on edge. Every step outside the wrecked ship was a test of his courage. Lyra, however, was in her element. She moved with confidence and precision, ears twitching, tail flicking as she scanned the surroundings. Alex often followed her silently, trusting her instincts more than his own eyes. Her presence was a constant reassurance, yet it reminded him how vulnerable he truly was. One afternoon, while scavenging for materials near a jagged cliff, Alex heard the low growl before he saw the pack. Shadow beasts, their fur dark as smoke, eyes glowing with hunger, circled him. Panic surged in his chest. He fumbled with a rock, trying to defend himself, but it was useless. He was outnumbered, cornered, and helpless. Then came a blur of silver and amber. Lyra leapt from above, landing between him and the predators. Her claws flashed, striking with terrifying speed. The beasts hissed and retreated for a moment, only to attack again. Lyra's tail whipped through the air, knocking them back, each strike precise and powerful. Alex watched, awe and fear mingling in his chest as she fought with strength and intelligence he had never seen before. After what felt like hours, the last shadow beast fled. Lyra stood panting, her fur dusted with dirt, tail curling protectively around Alex. He swallowed hard, words failing him. I don't know how to thank you. he said finally, voice trembling. Lyra pressed her head lightly against his shoulder, her tail tightening around him, a silent reply that said more than words ever could. The fight left Alex shaken. His hands still trembled, and he realized just how much he had depended on her without even realizing it. Lyra had risked herself, facing creatures that could have killed him in an instant, and yet she did it willingly. Her protective instinct, her loyalty, it was overwhelming. He knew in that moment that she had claimed him as much as he had come to claim her heart. Over the next days, Alex became more careful, more aware of the planet's dangers. He studied Lyra's movements, learned her cues, and began to anticipate threats. Nights were spent close together, her tail wrapped gently around him as if to remind him that he was not alone. He felt a warmth in her presence that no fire, no blanket could provide, a quiet, unshakable reassurance. One evening, after a particularly tense day of scavenging, Alex sat on a rock, his back against the cliffs. Lyra came to him silently, tail brushing against his leg. He reached out slowly, and this time, she allowed him to run his fingers through her soft silver fur. Her eyes softened, a purr-like sound vibrating in her chest. Alex leaned closer, pressing his forehead to hers. He realized that the bond between them was no longer fragile. It was strong, emotional, and unspoken. Yet he knew that danger was never far away. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every gust of wind could bring disaster. And even though he trusted Lyra completely, he understood that their survival depended on constant vigilance. The planet would not forgive mistakes, and neither would the creatures that called it home. As night fell, stars reflected in Lyra's amber eyes, and Alex felt an emotion deeper than fear or relief. Gratitude, connection, and a fierce sense of belonging. Her tail curled around him, a silent promise that no matter what came, they would face it together. And in that moment, Alex understood that he was no longer just a survivor stranded on a hostile world. He had found something far greater, a partner, a protector, a reason to fight, and a reason to hope. The wilderness was unforgiving. The planet was harsh, but with Lyra by his side, Alex felt something extraordinary. He was not alone, and somehow he believed he never would be again. Days turned into weeks, and Alex slowly adapted to life on the alien planet. The wrecked ship, once a symbol of despair, became their home, a shelter against the harsh winds and sudden storms. Lyra was always near, moving silently, her ears and tail constantly alert. Alex noticed the smallest gestures, the way her tail twitched when she was thoughtful, how her ears flicked at the slightest sound, and how her amber eyes softened when they met his. Communication between them was a puzzle, yet they were learning each other's language in ways that did not require words. A tilt of the head, a flick of a tail, a gentle nuzzle, these were their conversations. Alex drew shapes in the dirt to explain his ideas, pointing to tools or plants. Lyra responded with subtle movements, her tail curling around his arm or brushing against his hand in acknowledgement. It was slow, but every gesture built trust. One evening, after a day of scavenging for parts, Alex sat exhausted on a flat rock. Lyra approached quietly, and this time she did not hesitate. Her tail wrapped fully around his waist, anchoring him to her presence. He felt a shiver run through him, not of fear but of recognition, of connection. He reached out to stroke her fur, and she leaned into his touch, purring softly. Alex realized that survival had become secondary to something else, understanding. They were learning to anticipate each other, to feel what the other needed. Lyra would nudge him toward safety when danger was near, and he would shield her from harm without thinking. Their bond had grown into something rare, something that filled the lonely emptiness of the world around them, but understanding also brought new emotions, complex and sometimes frightening. Alex found himself worrying for her constantly, feeling a deep protectiveness he had never known. When Lyra hunted or explored alone, his chest tightened with anxiety, and he longed for the reassurance of her tail brushing against him, a reminder that she was safe. Likewise, Lyra seemed to respond to his moods, curling closer when he was tense or restless, nudging him gently as if to say, "You are not alone." One night, under the glow of the twin moons, Alex finally spoke aloud what he had been feeling for weeks. "Lyra, I don't know how this happened, but I think I belong here. With you." Her ears perked and she tilted her head, studying him with intense curiosity. Then slowly her tail wrapped around him again, tighter this time, As if to confirm what he had just said, Alex felt his chest swell with emotion. He was no longer a stranger, no longer just a survivor. He was part of her life, her world, her trust. The bond between them also brought a new kind of joy. Alex laughed again, a sound he had not made in weeks when Lyra playfully pounced on him during a routine scavenging trip. She was fast, agile, and clever, her tail flicking like a brushstroke of energy. Her playfulness reminded him that life could still have moments of light, even on a planet so unforgiving. Yet the understanding they shared was not without tension. Alex knew the world outside their shelter remained dangerous. Predators could appear at any time, storms could strike without warning, and every day was a challenge. But with Lyra by his side, he felt a courage he had never known. Her presence was not just comfort, it was strength, determination, and an unspoken promise that they would face whatever came together. As they settled near the wreckage that night, Alex leaned against her, letting her tail curl around him in the quiet darkness. He realized that he had found something extraordinary, not just companionship, but a true connection. A bond that defied species, defied fear, and promised loyalty, trust, and love. And in the soft glow of the alien moons, Alex finally allowed himself to hope. He belonged here, with her. She belonged here, with him. And together they were stronger than any storm, any predator, any challenge the universe could throw at them. The planet had been calm for days, but Alex knew that calm was only temporary. The skies shifted suddenly, clouds gathering in dark, swirling masses that twisted unnaturally against the twin suns. A storm was coming, one that promised wind, rain, and danger. Alex scrambled to secure what they could of the wrecked ship. Tools, scraps of metal, and tarps were tied down. But the wind was fierce, tearing at everything he touched. Lyra moved with him, agile and sure, her tail coiling around him at times, steadying him when the gusts threatened to knock him over. Her presence was grounding, calming him despite the rising panic in his chest. Lightning split the sky, crackling across the violet clouds. Thunder followed, loud enough to make the ground tremble. The storm hit with a sudden, violent force, whipping dust and debris across the jagged plains. Alex struggled to stay upright, arms full of supplies, when a massive branch, loosened by the wind, crashed down. He did not see it until it struck, sending him tumbling to the ground, pain radiating through his body. Lyra was there instantly. In a blur of silver and amber, she pushed him out of the way just as more debris fell. Her claws dug into the soil, tail whipping with precise power to deflect objects, and her body shielded him from the worst of the storm. Alex gasped, stunned at her speed, her strength, her devotion. "Lyra," he whispered, voice cracking with fear and relief. She pressed against him, her tail wrapping tightly around his waist, holding him as if she were saying, "I won't let anything happen to you." The connection between them felt electric, a lifeline stronger than anything he had ever known. Hours passed, the storm raging relentlessly. Alex could barely move, bruised and exhausted, but Lyra never left his side. She nuzzled him when he shivered, pressed against him when he faltered, and coiled her tail protectively whenever debris fell nearby. He realized something profound. She was not just a companion or protector. She was the reason he had survived. The reason he felt warmth and hope amidst the chaos. When the storm finally began to ease, Alex sat against a rock, soaked and shivering. Lyra curled around him completely, tail-tight, body pressed to his. He ran a hand through her soft fur, feeling the steady beat of her chest beneath his palm. She had saved him not just from the storm, but from despair, fear, and loneliness. "I don't know what I'd do without you," he murmured, voice low and shaky. Lyra responded with a soft, vibrating hum, leaning closer, eyes glowing in the dim light. Alex felt tears sting his cheeks. In that moment, he understood that no matter how harsh this world was, no matter how many dangers it held, he had found something unbreakable, a bond deeper than survival, deeper than friendship, deeper than words. The storm had tested them, and they had endured. It had shown him the truth he could no longer deny. He was hers as much as she was his. The instinct to protect, the quiet trust, the warmth of her tail around him, it all meant the same thing. They belonged to each other completely and irrevocably. As the winds calmed and the stars appeared faintly through clearing clouds, Alex leaned into Lyra, resting his head against hers. Her tail still curled around him, steady, protective, and full of promise. He realized that no storm, no predator, no challenge could ever break the bond they shared. It was stronger than fear, stronger than pain, and it would endure forever. And for the first time since the crash, Alex felt a certainty he had never known before. He belonged here with her. She had claimed him, not with words, but with trust, protection, and a touch of her tail. And he would never leave. Never. The storm had passed, but its memory lingered. Alex felt every ache in his body, every shiver from the cold wind, and yet, despite the pain, he was alive. Lyra sat beside him, tail coiled gently around his arm, ears twitching as she scanned the horizon. Her presence was steady, comforting, and full of silent reassurance. He had come to depend on it more than anything else on this hostile planet. The wrecked ship had survived barely. Alex could repair it enough to leave this world, return to human civilization, and escape the harshness of this alien place. But the thought filled him with unease. Leaving meant abandoning the only being who had truly become a part of him. Leaving meant breaking a bond that had grown stronger than fear, stronger than survival itself. Lyra nudged him gently with her head, amber eyes watching him intently. Her tail wrapped a little tighter around his wrist, a subtle reminder that she was here, that she trusted him, that she had chosen him as much as he had chosen her. Alex felt his chest tighten. The decision was no longer about survival. It was about belonging, about love, about something far deeper than the instinct to live. He stood slowly, muscles stiff, and looked at the ship. Tools lay scattered, the hull partially patched, engines sparking faintly with life. Leaving would be simple. Survival would be guaranteed. But every step toward the ship felt wrong, empty, as if it would strip away the connection he had fought to build. Turning back, he found Lyra waiting, her tail curling gracefully around him, anchoring him to the ground and to her. She tilted her head, her gaze gentle yet insistent, as if asking, "Will you stay with me?" The universe had offered him a chance to leave, to return to a familiar life. But he realized he could never be truly alive without her by his side. I'm not leaving," he said quietly, voice shaking with emotion. "I can't leave you." Lyra's ears flicked, her tail tightened, and she pressed closer, brushing her soft fur against his chest. The gesture was simple, but it carried more meaning than any words could. Alex felt a warmth spread through him, a surge of relief and joy, and a certainty he had never known before. In that moment, Alex understood fully what it meant to belong. To be with someone who trusted you completely, who accepted you, who depended on you, and whom you could never imagine living without. Lyra's tail wrapped fully around him, a silent vow, a claim, a promise that neither time nor danger could break. He returned the gesture instinctively, holding her close, feeling the quiet strength of her body pressed against his. The choice had been made, but its weight settled deep in his heart. Alex would remain on this planet, endure its dangers, and embrace the unknown because she was worth it. Lyra had shown him that connection, trust, and loyalty were stronger than fear, stronger than survival, and even stronger than the call of home. That night under the twin moons, Alex and Lyra lay close together near the wrecked ship. Her tail curled around him, warm, steady, protective. He rested his head against her shoulder, listening to the steady beat of her heart, and felt a peace he had never known. The bond they shared had become unbreakable. No storm, no predator, no challenge could ever take this from them. He was hers and she was his. And together, they were stronger than anything the universe could throw at them. For the first time, Alex realized that belonging was not about a place. It was about someone. And he had found that someone. Forever. The mornings on the alien planet were quiet now. The twin suns rose slowly over jagged cliffs, casting golden light across the rocky plains. Alex woke to the warmth of Lyra's tail draped over his waist, her body curled against his side. The storm, the predators, the fear, they all felt like distant memories. Here, in this fragile moment, there was only them. Alex stretched, careful not to disturb her, and watched her ears twitch in response to the soft sounds of the waking planet. Her amber eyes slowly opened and she glanced at him, head tilting slightly, tail curling around him like a protective embrace. Alex smiled softly, feeling a swell of gratitude and love he could not put into words. Days had passed since he had made the choice to stay. The wrecked ship had been patched and reinforced, a testament to their survival. But it was no longer a symbol of hope to leave. It was a home, a place where they belonged together. Alex had learned the rhythm of the planet, the patterns of predators, and even the whispers of the wind. Yet nothing had taught him more than Lyra had. She had taught him trust. She had taught him patience. She had taught him the quiet, unshakable strength of love without words. Every flick of her tail, every subtle nudge, every protective glance reminded him that belonging was more than living. It was being understood, accepted, and cherished completely. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery shades of red and purple, Alex and Lyra sat atop a rocky outcrop. The wind was gentle, carrying the scent of strange, alien flowers. Lyra's tail curled fully around him, her body pressed close, and Alex realized something profound. He had never felt peace like this, not in any human city, not on any familiar world. Here, with her, he was truly home. He reached out, running a hand along her sleek silver fur. Lyra leaned into his touch, closing her eyes briefly. The connection between them had deepened over weeks of shared danger, laughter, and quiet moments like this. It was a bond that words could never fully capture, a bond of trust, survival, and mutual devotion. Alex whispered softly, "I'm yours, and you're mine, always." Lyra responded with a gentle hum, her tail tightening slightly, anchoring him to her warmth. In that silent exchange, Alex felt the full weight of their bond. He was not just a survivor on this alien world. He was part of her life, her trust, her heart. And she was part of his, forever. Night fell and the twin moons rose, casting pale light across the landscape. Stars shimmered in the violet sky, countless and infinite, but Alex focused only on her. Lyra's amber eyes met his, intelligent, loyal, full of something deeper than instinct. A love that transcended species, space, and fear. Her tail curled one last time around him before she settled, resting her head lightly against his chest. Alex closed his eyes, feeling the steady beat of her heart beneath his hand, the warmth of her tail around him, the presence of someone who had chosen him as completely as he had chosen her. He realized that life, with all its uncertainty, dangers, and challenges, had led him to this moment, and nothing could take it away. The planet was harsh, the universe vast, and the nights could still be filled with danger. But together, they were unstoppable. Lyra's tail wrapped around him, steady and sure, a silent promise that he would never face the world alone. And Alex pressed closer, feeling the same promise in return. He was hers. She was his. And as they sat beneath the alien stars, Alex understood the truth he had always known but never fully embraced until now. Love, trust, and belonging were stronger than any storm, any predator, any loneliness. Forever they would face the universe together. And in that knowledge, Alex felt something rare, beautiful, and unshakable. Peace, joy, and the certainty that he had found his place in the cosmos. Her tail wrapped around him. And in that simple, perfect gesture, Alex knew without a doubt that he was hers forever.